Everyone has heard the advice. Save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Put it in savings. Forget about it. But here's the question almost nobody asks back. 3 to 6 months of what? That one question is the difference between an emergency fund that actually works and one that quietly fails the moment you need it, even with thousands of dollars sitting right there. Today, we're breaking down the 3 things that actually decide whether your emergency fund saves you or just sits there looking responsible while you slide into credit card debt anyway. Almost nobody gets all 3 right on the first try. And the first mistake starts with a savings balance that looks perfectly fine, right up until the moment it isn't. You've heard the number 100 times. 3 to 6 months of expenses, sitting in savings, waiting for a rainy day. Losing your job, car trouble, a medical bill. Most people don't even question it. They open a savings account, set up an automatic transfer, and watch the number climb every month. It feels responsible. It feels like enough. And then the emergency actually happens, and somehow, even with money sitting right there, they still end up putting the bill on a credit card anyway. Here's why. 3 to 6 months of expenses is not one number. It's at least 3 different numbers, depending on what you count. Your full lifestyle spending, restaurants, streaming subscriptions, weekend trips, is one number. Your bare survival spending, just the stuff that keeps the lights on, is a much smaller one. Most people never figure out which of those 2 numbers they're actually supposed to be saving toward. So they either aim for a number so big it feels impossible and give up before they even start, or they never do the math at all and just guess. Guessing is not a plan. It's hope wearing a plan's clothes. Think about it like packing for a trip without knowing the weather. You either overpack out of fear and never leave the house because the suitcase feels too heavy, or you underpack and freeze the second it rains. Most people's emergency fund plan looks exactly like that. Here's a stat that surprises people every time I share it. Roughly 4 in 10 adults in the United States say they couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense with cash, without borrowing money or selling something they own. Sit with that for a second. 4 in 10. That's not a discipline problem. Most of those people know they're supposed to have a fund. Nobody ever taught them the actual mechanics behind it, the exact type of account it should live in, what should legally count as an emergency in their own house rules, and the size of the target they should be building toward first before they chase the scary 6-month number everyone talks about. Those 3 mechanics are the whole game. Get them right, and the fund works exactly the way it's supposed to, the one time you actually need it. Get them wrong, and you end up like almost everyone else, technically having a fund, and still reaching for a credit card the second life throws a punch. So let's start with the first mechanic, because it's the one almost nobody thinks about until it's too late. It was never really about the number. It was about where that number was sitting the whole time. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Having money sitting in savings and having a real emergency fund are not the same thing. They look identical on a screen. They feel completely different the day something goes wrong. You can have $10,000 sitting in an account labeled emergency fund and still be one bad week away from a credit card balance. Maybe the account was the wrong type, sitting right next to your everyday spending money. Maybe the number itself was based on your full lifestyle spending instead of what you'd actually need just to survive. Or maybe the rules around when you're allowed to touch it were so fuzzy that you talked yourself out of using it the one time it mattered. You know the voice. It's not really an emergency. I can just put it on the card and pay it off later. Sound familiar? That voice shows up for almost everyone, and it wins more often than you'd think, because there was never a clear rule stopping it. It's a bit like having a fire extinguisher in your house, but keeping it buried under boxes in the garage. Technically, you have one. Practically, by the time you dig it out, the small fire has already become a big one. So ask yourself honestly, right now, no judgment. If your car broke down tomorrow, could you pay for the repair in cash, using money you already know is set aside for exactly that? Not, I could probably scrounge it together by Friday. Immediately. No thinking required, no mental math, no moving things around between accounts hoping it works out. If the answer isn't a clean, fast yes, you are not alone, and you are not bad with money. You just never got the instructions. Most people never do. That's on the system, not on you. Personal finance gets taught as one big number to hit, like there's a finish line, and once you cross it, you're safe forever. That's not how real emergencies work. Real emergencies don't care about your total balance. They care about whether the right money, in the right place, under the right rules, is ready the moment you need it. And that gap between having money and having a working system is exactly where good people end up in debt even after doing everything right. So if the fix isn't simply save more, what is it? It's 3 specific things, done in the right order, before the emergency ever shows up. And the clearest way to see the difference, the clearest way to actually feel it instead of just hearing about it, is to watch it happen to 2 real people, earning the same money, hit with the exact same crisis, on the exact same week. The first thing almost everyone gets wrong is this. They obsess over the number, and they completely ignore the account that number lives in. Here's the rule. Your emergency fund needs some separation from your everyday spending money, but it still needs to stay reachable. It should not be one tap away in the exact same app you use to buy coffee every morning. But it also should not be locked up somewhere you cannot touch it fast during a real emergency. The goal is separation from impulse, not separation from access. Why does this matter so much? Because money that's easy to see and easy to move gets treated like money that's available to spend, even when your brain has technically labeled it off limits. That's not a willpower problem. That's just how humans relate to cash they can see. Think of it like keeping a bag of chips on the kitchen counter versus keeping it on the top shelf of the pantry behind the cereal boxes. Same chips, same house. Completely different odds you eat the whole bag before dinner. If your emergency money sits in the same account as your spending money, it functionally becomes spending money, no matter what label you gave it in your head. The fix is simple to say and takes about 10 minutes to actually do. Open a separate account, ideally one that pays you a decent interest rate, somewhere your everyday debit card can't reach in a single tap. Moving that money should take an actual, conscious step, a transfer you choose to make, not a swipe you make without thinking. That small bit of friction is doing enormous work behind the scenes, while the money stays liquid enough to reach the moment something genuinely goes wrong. And because this account is separate, it can also be quietly earning something the whole time. A basic account at your regular bank might pay you next to nothing. A separate, high-interest savings account, sitting in the exact same kind of bank, just a different one, can be earning meaningfully more, working quietly in the background while it waits for a problem that, hopefully, takes a long while to show up. So, thing number 1, a separate account, with just enough friction to make you pause, but not so much that you can't reach it when it actually matters. Simple to set up. Almost nobody bothers, because it feels like paperwork, not progress. But it's the single easiest of the 3 things to fix, and it's the one that stops your good intentions from quietly getting spent before an actual emergency even shows up. Still, Getting the account right doesn't matter much if you never figured out the right number to put inside it in the first place. And figuring out that number is where most people, even careful ones, make their next mistake. Thing number 2 fixes a mistake almost everyone makes before they even open the account. They calculate the wrong target. And then, on top of that, they never actually define what the fund is for. Let's start with the math. 3 to 6 months of expenses usually gets calculated using your full lifestyle spending. Restaurants, streaming subscriptions, the occasional weekend trip. But here's the catch. If your income actually stopped tomorrow, you would not keep spending like that. You would cut back, hard and fast, almost overnight. So the real number should come only from your essential expenses. Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, transportation, the minimum payments on any debt you owe. Nothing else. Just the stuff that has to get paid no matter what. Let's use real numbers, because numbers make this click. Say your normal month costs $4,000 total, but your true essentials, the bare minimum to keep your life running, add up to $2,500. 3 months of your full lifestyle spending is $12,000. 3 months of your actual survival cost is $7,500. That's a $4,500 difference. And it's the gap between a target that feels impossible and one you can actually reach this year. That's your real number. Now, the second half of thing number 2. Decide, in advance, what actually counts as an emergency. If you don't decide this ahead of time, calmly, before anything is on fire, you will talk yourself into using the fund for things that aren't real emergencies. Or worse, you'll talk yourself out of using it for things that actually are. In the moment, almost anything can be dressed up as urgent. Your brain is remarkably good at inventing urgency the second it sees a pile of ready cash sitting nearby. So write your rules down now, while you're calm and nothing is wrong. This fund exists for job loss, essential medical costs, essential home or car repairs, a genuine family emergency. That's the whole list. Not, I'm having a rough month. Not a sale that won't last. A real threat to your income, your health, your housing, or your ability to get to work, and nothing softer than that. This rule protects you in both directions at once. It stops you from raiding the fund for wants dressed up as needs. But it also gives you full permission to actually use it the moment something real happens, instead of white-knuckling through the crisis out of guilt. That's exactly what saved Marcus earlier. He didn't sit there debating whether a transmission repair really, truly counted. He had already decided, weeks before, that essential car repairs were on his list. No decision fatigue in the moment. No guilt afterward. Just a simple question. Does this match the rule? Yes. Use the fund. Move on with your day. Now you have the right account, and the right number sitting inside it. But even the right number can feel impossibly far away, unless you build it in a very specific order. Thing number 3 is probably the biggest reason people never finish building the fund at all. Even with the right number in hand, $7,500 or $15,000 can still feel so far away that people either burn themselves out trying to hit it fast, or they never really start in the first place. The fix is simple. Stop treating it as one giant goal. Treat it as 3 separate layers, stacked one on top of the other, like floors of a building going up one at a time. Layer 1 is a starter buffer, around $1,000. This alone stops the most common emergencies, a flat tire, a smaller repair, a surprise bill, from ever touching a credit card again. You build this layer fast, in a matter of weeks, not months, and it changes how you feel about money almost immediately. That first $1,000 does more for your stress level than almost any other financial move you can make this year. Layer 2 is 1 full month of your essential expenses, the real number from thing number 2, not your full lifestyle spending. Using our earlier example, that's $2,500, not $4,000. Layer 3 is where you stretch that 1 month out to 3 months, and then eventually towards 6, depending on how stable your income actually is. A steady salaried job, especially with a second income in the household helping to cover things, can often be comfortable stopping closer to 3 months. Someone who's self-employed or the only income earner in their household probably wants to keep building towards 6. Here's the part that keeps people motivated when the old advice never could. Every single layer already protects you from something, even before the next layer is finished. You are not waiting until month 8 to get any benefit at all. The benefit starts the moment layer 1 is sitting in your account, ready to go. Think of it like building a house. You don't wait until the roof is finished to get any shelter. The moment the walls go up, you're already safer than you were standing outside. Each layer you finish is one more wall. And this is exactly where most advice quietly fails people. It hands you a single scary number, $7,500 or more, with no map for how to get there and no credit for the progress you make along the way. That's why so many people save $500, feel like they barely move the needle, and quietly give up. But $500 is halfway to a buffer that can already absorb most surprises life throws at you. It was never nothing. It just needed a name and a place to sit. Layer by layer, the mountain turns into a staircase, and staircases get climbed. So now you have all 3 pieces: the account, the real number, and the order to build it in. Let's put them together and see exactly why this changes everything for the people who actually do it. Let's bring this back to Priya and Marcus one more time. Marcus wasn't smarter than Priya, and he wasn't earning more money than her either. Before the emergency ever arrived, he had already made 3 quiet decisions. He kept the money somewhere with a little separation from his daily spending. He had calculated his real number instead of guessing at his full lifestyle spend. And he had decided, calmly and in advance, exactly what counted as an emergency. None of that took extra income. None of it took extra time. It took doing the thinking once, while nothing was on fire, instead of doing it under pressure. Think about how a fire drill actually works. Nobody figures out the exits during a real fire. They walk them ahead of time, calmly, so their body already knows what to do the moment smoke shows up. Marcus basically ran a fire drill for his money. Priya never got the chance to run hers, because nobody ever told her that's what an emergency fund is actually asking her to do. And once you've made these 3 calls, you don't have to make them again. Every future emergency just runs through the same rules automatically, the way Marcus's transmission repair did. The next surprise bill, the next slow month, the next car trouble years from now, all of it gets measured against the same 3 answers, not reinvented under stress. That's what makes the whole thing durable instead of something you have to rebuild from scratch every single time. Picture the version of you dealing with a real emergency 6 months from now. That version of you does not need more willpower than you have right now. What that future version of you actually needs is for today's version of you to have already made these 3 calls, so there's nothing left to figure out in the moment it matters most. And here's the part worth sitting with. None of this takes long to actually set up. Opening the separate account takes maybe 10 minutes. Doing the math on your real number takes maybe 20. Writing down your emergency rules takes maybe 5. Less than 1 full hour total stands between where you're sitting right now and having a fund that actually works, instead of one that just looks good sitting on a screen. Most people never spend that hour, not because it's hard, but because nobody ever laid it out this clearly before. An hour now buys you a fund that runs on its own later, the way Marcus's did the morning after his transmission gave out. Now you have it laid out, and there's one specific step worth taking before you close this video. So here's what I want you to actually do. Not someday. Today, while this is still fresh in your head. Open a separate account, if you don't already have one sitting apart from your everyday spending. Then do the essentials math from thing number 2, so you know your real number, the honest one, instead of the scary lifestyle number that never needed to exist in the first place. If you're starting completely from zero right now, your target for the next 30 days is just layer 1. $1,000. Not 6 months. Not the number that used to feel impossible. Just the first layer. The one that changes how you feel almost immediately once it's sitting there. If any of this changed how you think about the fund you already have, or the one you haven't started yet, tell me in the comments which layer you're on right now. I read every single one. And if this was useful, share it with the one person in your life who always says they're going to start saving soon. Soon has a way of never actually arriving on its own, month after month, year after year, quietly. A clear plan is usually what gets someone there instead, not more motivation, not more guilt, just a plan simple enough to actually follow. You now have that plan. The account, the real number, and the layers to build it in, one at a time, starting today. That's genuinely all it takes, and what it buys you is quiet, not fireworks. The next time your car makes a strange noise, or your fridge dies on a random Tuesday, you won't feel that familiar drop in your stomach. You'll just open an account you already trust, move money you already decided was for exactly this moment, and keep going about your day. No panic, no guilt, no credit card bill following you around for the next 6 months. That feeling, calm instead of panicked, is worth a lot more than the dollar amount sitting in the account. It's the difference between money that controls you and money that finally works for you, quietly, in the background, the way it was always supposed to. A year from now, you probably won't remember the exact number sitting in that account. You'll just remember that the bad month stayed a bad month, instead of turning into a bad year. That's the whole point of doing this. Go set it up this week, not someday. Future you is already counting on it, whether you've thought about them yet or not. And they'll thank you the very first time life throws something unexpected their way. Thanks for watching. And take care of yourself out there.